So when I first started tracking student data, I was using paper-based everything. So students would get called up to me one at a time and read a list of words. And I would have to keep track of what they said using paper. And it was really hard for me because I was also a science teacher who was learning how to teach literacy.
I used to pull from different diagnostics depending on the school year, depending what was available to me, and depending on the student. And it was a lot of paperwork, file folders, just a lot of stuff.
It would probably take a good week or two to like commit to assessing all of these kids with at least 3 or 4 teachers pulling kids and doing these assessments with them.
And then it was like, oh, they know M and they know N and they know I, they know T, but then they didn't know A. And so I was trying to capture all that on my piece of paper and then go back and read it to input it on my spreadsheet.
This is like 4 kids worth of data.
I have about 15 of these boxes at the end of the year filled of data.
I felt like I might have been just testing a skill once and maybe not getting a clear picture of do they know it, do they not?
As far as parents, this is all meaningless. So what I had to do is take all this information and make it make sense for parent-teacher conferences, which adds time.
Before Root Compass, we would take all of the data once we spent hours and hours to assess the students. Then we would schedule a data day and we would spend a half a day analyzing the data. And then we would run out of time. We needed a second day to then start to form groups and kind of like shuffle out where the assessments were. And then it was almost a third planning time for what are we going to create for forming instruction.
I couldn't remember what I wrote because I was writing it fast because the child is in front of me and I'm trying to do it as quickly as possible. And then I go back and try to remember what did the child actually do or say? What did I actually write?
And there's all different colors on here because blue represented what they did in September and green is what they would do in January. And we would try to see like who had growth where and what skills did they regress in, what skills do they need to move forward in. And it was like kind of a puzzle to try to figure that out.
And so, goodbye. And it's so nice to not have all that paperwork in my bag that travels from school to home because I have to carry all this home. So I am the bag lady carrying all my data.
But compared to now using Root Compass, I don't have to deal with that anymore.
I have my computer, I have the child, and I am just clicking buttons as they're doing it. And then I hit submit, and then the data's there. And then the data tells me what I need to redo and what I need to focus on. And it helps me choose my groups, and it tells me who to pair my child with, as opposed to going through the data and saying, okay, does this child go with this child? Who's learning what skill? Does this child know the alphabet? Does this child know the alphabet? Root Compass does all that.
When a student is saying a word, I can see all the sounds they're supposed to be making, and I can simply check off if they're making that sound or not.
I think it's really helpful on a whole school level as far as grouping for RTI.
As a 5th grade teacher, we get 10 new students a year that join our community who we don't have any data for. And using the screener in Root Compass allows us to see exactly what skills that they have or don't have when it comes to reading. We're also able to see the historical data for our students who are starting with us in 5th grade, who have been at Compass.
All of the data is in one spot. And so I can say, look at the growth here. And you can even click on the growth and you can see where they have grown and what they can do now, as opposed to fumbling through papers.
It makes progress monitoring really easy.
I'm able to see how their skills have grown and what skills they may need support with at the start of the year.
And if a parent has a question, you don't have to look for the answer. The answers are all right there.
And the amount of hours that we are all saving as a team, as a teacher, as students who have to take the assessments is just leaps and bounds faster than where we were.
I can take my time that I used to spend on data and now I could just teach and hang out with my children.
So we could do all of that in what took 3 days, or 3 data sections of days, in now a couple hours. And we do start to finish. We walk out of that meeting with not only groups, who's teaching them, when are they teaching them, and all the materials for them. So yeah, it's been awesome.
It gave me some of my life back.